Can anyone hear me? Okay, I think we got it now. All right, good. So we're gonna do it this way. So I want to make sure that I apologize for the technical difficulties. So I want to make sure that I took the time to one give a full testimony as to what was happening with my son. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been in Minneapolis with my son Eric. And the reason why I was there was because he was very sick, and he had been going to the emergency room for the past 2 days. So he called me on that Thursday and he let me know that he had had a pain in his back. And he initially thought it might have been kidney stones, kidney infection. Um, and they sent him home with pain medication. So he felt as though he may have gotten a little bit better. And so that Friday, he called me to let me know, Mom, I've got to go back to the hospital again. And I told him, I said, well, at this point in time, if they try to send you back home, let me know. Now, mind you, he lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, so we're talking 1,000 miles away. And that's one of the things as a parent, even when our children are adults, I call them my adult. Even when our children are at that adult age, you never want to get that phone call that something is wrong, that something has happened. So he called me to let me know that they were sending him home again and that he wasn't feeling any better. And at this point, they had ran all these different tests. Everything was coming back fine. They had checked him for COVID, and he had not eaten now going on 2 days. And he couldn't keep anything down. And the pain had progressed from his back to his neck. And he could barely even stand up. So at this point, like they wanted to send him back home again, just take some more pain medication, but understanding he could not keep any food down at this point. He couldn't keep anything on his stomach. So, for those of you who do know, I work at night. So I left work, came home, packed a bag, called Delta for an emergency flight, straight flight to Minneapolis. They were able to, thank the Lord, give me a discount. And I was in Minneapolis by that Saturday morning. And I'm sharing this because God showed up in so many ways during this whole process. And I want to give God all of the glory because um when we pray, we know and understand that God takes care of everything when we have prayed, right? And so I was able to get a quick flight, straight flight on a discount, was by with him by that next morning. So he's still not able to keep anything down. And it was to the point that the pain was so bad that he was literally almost to a place of him screaming as he would get sick because the pain in his head was so bad, which then makes you nauseous, which makes you sick all over again. And he was just in this repetitive cycle. So we go back to the hospital for the third time. Now, at this time, we're back in the hospital for the third time. And I walk into the room and the nurse is there trying to help him. And he's trying to explain, what's happening. I've been here for the third time. And you have to know when the enemy is trying to get in the middle of your blessing. And I'm sharing this with you as I've sat and I've looked at this whole process. You have to know when the enemy tries to intervene when God is trying to do something miraculous in your life. So the nurse was there and, we're starting to ask questions. He's trying to explain what's happened. He's had CAT scans. Now we're talking about an MRI. He's had every test possible, COVID, meningitis, anything you can think of, everything came back clean. But he's still in all of this pain. He's still nauseous. And now we're on to 3 days and no food and cannot keep anything down. So I'm speaking with the nurse and I said, man, we've been here. And this is our 3rd time here. And she says, and I'm 5 days here. And I said, So the mama bear had popped up at that moment. And I said, okay, look, I'm not going to show out in these people's hospital. And I flew 1,000 miles. I hadn't had no sleep since yesterday. And she trusts to have an attitude. So I said, ma'am, I said, let's take a pause. I said, let me reintroduce myself to you. I said, my name is Errica Bishop. I'm his mother. I have flown in here because he's sick. And I know that you know how to do your job. And, she proceeds to tell me how many people she has to manage. And I said, I appreciate that, just as I manage over 300 people. And as a mother, I'm here just to support my baby. And I know that you know how to do your job. So let's just take a moment and take a pause and reset what's happening, because I feel some tension in here. And at that moment, everything settled out. Right? Everything settled out. And it's like, why would the enemy want to bring in confusion in the midst of all of what we have going on? So now we finally get him admitted into the hospital after he's had an MRI. They still didn't find anything. So then they decide that they need to do a lumbar puncture, a spinal tap. And it's at this moment that now we're going to do a spinal tap. Still not knowing what it is. Nothing is showing anything in any of his blood work, in every test that they have taken. Even in the CAT scans, they didn't see anything wrong with his brain, nothing. He still can't keep anything down. We're going on 4 days, and this time he is sick almost every hour. He's just continuously just vomiting, just sick every hour. So we go and do the lumbar puncture, and I'm sitting in the waiting area and I'm just praying, and I'm like, God, you are the God of results. You are the God of resolution. And I'm asking God, you find out what is wrong. We need some answers. We're sitting here clueless, and you're the only one that knows what is happening. You are the one and only true God. You are Jehovah Rapha. And at this point, I sent out a call. I sent out a call. And I normally don't do that, but I sent out a call and I said, I'm asking for intercessors, specifically for intercessors to pray. Because we're at a point that I don't know what's happening. Nobody has a clue. Nobody has an answer. And we need some results. We need a starting point somewhere to figure out what's wrong with my son. He's not eating in almost 4 days. This is the 3rd time at the hospital. And he's in extreme pain. And they're just pumping him with more and more and more and more drugs. Just more and more drugs. He hasn't had anything on his stomach. And he's just nothing but just more and more cocktails and all these different things. And they go to do the lumbar puncture, and I'm waiting, and the gentleman comes out, and he said, Miss Bishop, he said, I think I have diagnosed what may be wrong. Now at this point, I'm trying to hold it together and listen, because the thing about this is in the middle of the night. We're talking about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. The gentleman that was there was a doctor who had been doing spinal taps, lumbar puncture for over 30 years. And I was so grateful to God that that man was still there. Because he could have been retired. But he was still there at that moment in time. And he said, I have only seen 5 cases like this in my entire career of over 30 years. He said, I believe your son. He said, when we went to go do the spinal tap or the lumbar puncture, he said it was dry. He had no fluid on his spine. Zero. They did it in 2 different places. He had no fluid on his spine. None at all. And he said, this is called intracranial hypertension. And it can be spontaneous. He said, normally it comes with some type of trauma, some type of accident. He said, but it's very rare that sometimes people have small spots on their spine, and it can rupture, and spinal fluid can leak out. And this is what was happening. He had a leak in his spine that caused the spinal fluid to leak out from where it was, which is causing him to be sick. As a parent, when you sit, no matter how old your children are, when you sit and you're watching them fighting for their life, he was so weak. He looked so frail. He was so tired. And he was in so much pain. And as a mother, I couldn't fix it. But I knew that God could. And I knew that there were people who were praying. And I just want to thank everyone for all the texts and all the phone calls and the prayers that you sent, because I didn't know what to do. All I knew was that I needed to be there for my baby. He's 25, but he's still my baby. And to know that God provided, that man was still there to give him the proper diagnosis for something that just came out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere. So now we've got a full MRI. Now we've got to go to speak to, I know I spoke to 5 different neurologists. And we still we got to Thursday. We've been in the hospital all week. He's still not eating. Eric lost 20 pounds in 1 week. And I'm watching my baby still sick. Now we've gotten a clue as to even where to start, but not even a full answer yet. So after talking to all the neurosurgeons, and we get to the point that just keep pumping him with all these different drugs. And I said, wait a minute, we can't take any more medication. He said, Mom, I feel the same way. So we weaned off of all the pain pills and all the medication, because it just put him in this cycle of nausea and pain and nausea and pain, because he couldn't keep anything down. At this point, after you have gone over 72 hours without eating, now your body's purging, right? And I won't share all of Eric's testimony, but I'll just share a little bit of what he shared with me, because hopefully you'll be able to hear his side. And he shared some things with me. He said, Mom, he said, I was doing so good. He said, I changed some things in my life and I was moving forward with some different things. And I said, son, you got to understand something. I said, the enemy never wants you to make a decision to do the right thing. After you have made a decision to make a positive change for your life, ain't nobody mad but the devil. And he will do everything possible, even if it means to kill you, to bully you, to keep you from going forward. I said, keep standing on the wall. Keep standing on the wall. And he's still sick. So we get to Thursday. So we go through another process, and it's called a myelogram. We've had 2 CAT scans, MRIs. Now we're at what we call a myelogram. A myelogram is where they can actually separate the bones from the tissues in your body to see and try to find what a leak is in his spine. Now, mind you, we're up to what, Thursday? He's almost 7 days in, no food. He can't keep anything down. We've weaned him off of all of the other medication they kept giving him because he hadn't had anything to eat, and it made no sense to keep pumping him with all these different types of pain pills. So they go to do the myelogram to find out where the leak is. So it's supposed to be like a small hole like this, but it had collapsed. And because it had collapsed, all of his nerves was sitting right at the top of it. So it's almost like doing an epidural. If you've had an epidural, you've had a spinal tap, it's like doing it for a second time. So now they're sticking the needle back, trying to get into the spot to do what they call a blood patch. And a blood patch is where they take your own blood, put it back in your spine to try to seal up the hole where the leak is. So they put it in and they hit a nerve. So now he's in extreme pain from his waist all the way down to his feet, and he's screaming on the table. He's like, I can't do it. So they stopped and took him from the myelogram. So now we're on Friday. So they said after the neurologist come back through again. Now, mind you, people are praying around the clock. And I don't know everything that people pray, but I do know that God was there. Every step that was made, from the flight to the parking to every person we had to come in contact with, God provided. Not only did he show up as Jehovah Rapha to heal my son, he showed up as Jehovah Jireh to provide for everything, and then he showed up as Jehovah Shammah, because God kept telling me, I'm here with you. You are not by yourself. I am here with you. And God speaks to me in a lot of different ways, and everybody knows how God speaks to them. He kept showing me in different things and kept giving me God winks to say, I am here. I am Jehovah Shammah. I am here with you. So we get to Friday, and they're going to go and do the blood patch blind, because now they can't get exactly to the space where they think the leak might be. So they go ahead and continue to do the blood patch. And the only way to know that it worked is that the headaches go away and the nausea goes away. So he does the blood patch, and it's still painful. So they weren't able to get all of it. They were only able to do 50% of the blood patch. But praise God, it worked. It worked. Not knowing that it was going to work, but I trusted God that it was going to work, and it worked. The nausea went away. The headache subsided. And he was able to eat on Saturday. After a whole week of no food, nothing but medication in his system, he was able to sit up, stand up, walk, and eat. So I stayed an extra week last week after we got him home, because he didn't go home from the hospital until late Saturday afternoon, because they wanted to keep him for 24 hours after the blood patch to see what his symptoms would be. So he was able to go home on Saturday. And I just want to say thank you to every person that prayed, that called, that sent your prayers, that checked in. Because one thing I know, There's power in intercession. And when intercessors pray, God moves. And God moved on behalf of my baby. And I just want to thank everybody who took the time to take his name before God. Because I'm watching my baby's life slip out of him for 7 whole days. And I couldn't do nothing but pray. So for every person who took the time to pray, to sincerely take his name before the Lord, I just want to say I thank you. I thank the 12-12 community for being such a wonderful family. To check in on me and to make sure that he was okay. I was okay. But as intercessors, and I don't take intercession lightly because it's a calling. All prayers can get answered, but one thing about intercession, when you are anointed to intercede for others, it's a blessing. It's a blessing because his life was hanging in the balance. Anybody's life can be hanging in the balance. And when you intercede with a sincere heart and you call on the name of the Lord and he answers on behalf of someone that's been standing in the gap, it's so much power in intercession. And I myself, I take my calling as an intercessor very seriously. And I thank you when I say you all showed up in large numbers. You bombarded heaven on his behalf. And I pray that the Lord bless you real good. So Errica's home and recovering. He is doing very well. He still has a ways to go. He has had a little bit of pain. Hey, Jennifer, he's had a little bit of pain, but it's subsiding. He's getting his strength back, and Lord knows he's gotten his appetite back. But then he got to the point after he realized he had lost 18 pounds. Then he was Mr. Sexy and Mr. Fine. So then I knew it was time for me to come home, as he was starting to smell himself a little bit. But I'm grateful. Even to see that, I am so grateful. So it's a couple of things that when you have a community of people who love you and who care for you, and I just want to again shout out to the 12-12 community. I'm going to put the link here because this group is my family. And this is an amazing group of people, the 12-12 community. And we just had intercessory prayer tonight. Those are the intercessors for the community. And it's around the clock teaching of the word. Everybody has a day. I'm every Tuesday morning at 6. And everyone has a schedule between 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. each day of the week. And it's an amazing community of believers, and God is doing amazing things. I also want to share with you the When Women Heal community. The When Women Heal community is a community I have been a part of for many years. And it does exactly that. When women heal. And it was a time when I was going through my healing process and understanding myself. This community really blessed me and helped me to grow in so many different ways. And if with that, Kingdom Intercessors is a new community that has been mandated for understanding and growing in a place of intercession. And this is going to launch in the month of October. And this will be praying the names of God every single month. And one thing about intercession and just prayer in general, God is everything to all of us in every way. But it's about knowing who to call on when. And God showed up in all the different variations that He is, because He's everything, He's everywhere, all at the same time. And however you need to call Him, you can. And He was there. Not only did He show up as Jehovah Jireh, not only did He show up as a healer, Jehovah Rapha, not only did He show up as Jehovah Shalom, my peace, He also showed up as Jehovah Shammah, meaning I am here with you. And we're going to teach that every single month. And if you feel as though you have been called to a place of intercession, or you want to grow in your place in intercession, come to the Kingdom Intercessions Facebook group. Come to the Kingdom Intercessors Facebook group. Because we're going to pray on behalf of this nation, of the people that we know we need to be praying for. Just tonight, as we were praying in the group for the intercessory call, it was another sister who had the same situation, where her adult daughter was just in a car accident, and then her adult son has been diagnosed with cancer. And pray for them. And if you have the gift of intercession, pray for them. And also, I have a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who she's been on the kidney transplant list for 5 years. And she received her call for her transplant. Someone took the call for her, but did not tell her in enough time. I'm going to let that sit for a moment. She's been on the transplant list for 5 years. She finally received the call. Someone took the call for her and did not tell her in enough time. And there's more to it. I'm going to leave it as that. But pray for her. Please pray for her. I pray that she gets her transplant, because everyone deserves an opportunity to live. So again, I just wanted to take the time to thank everybody personally for all of your prayers, for interceding, for taking the time out to pray. Eric is recovering. He is home and he is doing well. So again, I thank God for all of you. We will resume our regular show for Evolve and Elevate with Errica on next week. I look forward to seeing you. Please subscribe. Please share. Please let someone know that we're here. I look forward to seeing you in the Kingdom Intercessors. It's the International Intercessors Alliance. I look forward to seeing you there as well. It's going to be the first Saturday of every month. And I appreciate you all. And please join these amazing communities where we are family. We're here to serve people and to help them in every way possible. I love you all so much. You all be so blessed. I thank God for you, and you have an amazing, amazing evening. Praise God for you all, and you all take care.